A man sees a dangerous mob amassing outside his house and calls the police. The operator answers, and the man explains the situation. The operator asks, "Do you recognize any of them?" The man says, "Yes, one of them is Jethro Smith." The operator says, "Please hold." The man is confused, but he holds, hoping for relief. A few minutes later, the operator returns to the line and says, "I'm putting you through to the chief." When the chief answers, the man explains the situation and the chief says, "Okay, we'll send someone by to take a look. But first, I need you to call my wife and tell her that we're at the bar together." The man is confused and asks, "What does one thing have to do with the other?" The chief replies, "You don't need to worry about that. Just call my wife and tell her that I am at the bar with you." The man says, "Listen, my family is in trouble and the mob is preparing to storm my house. Please send help." The chief responds, "So, are you going to call my wife?" The man says, "I can't tell your wife something that isn't true, and since we're not at the bar together, that would be a lie." The chief says, "Okay then, I guess you'll have to figure it out yourself," and hangs up. Afterwards, the mob breaks into the man's home, kills one of his family members, and sets up a headquarters in the son's bedroom, claiming that room is now his. The man calls the police chief again and says, "Now they have broken into my house and killed my son." The chief says, "I told you, you should have called my wife." In desperation, the man enlists the help of his neighbors and attempts to expel Jethro Smith and the mob from his home. It's difficult because Jethro and his gang have dug in pretty deeply and don't want to leave anymore. They claim that is now their room. Finally, a new police chief is hired and the man reaches out to him. Unfortunately, Jethro Smith's mob has grown very powerful inside the man's house, and it will take a lot to get him out. The new police chief says, "Okay, I will send over a pitchforks and billy clubs to help you fight them off." Jethro Smith's gang is already too powerful to be discouraged by pitchforks and billy clubs, and even though the man's neighbors pitch in, Jethro Smith refuses to leave. The man calls the police searching for additional help and discovers the old chief is back at the office again. The chief is still angry because the man wouldn't lie to his wife about them being at the bar together. He really doesn't want to help at all, but since the previous chief gave him some assistance, he says, "Well, if you come in, we can talk about it." The man feels this is highly irregular, but agrees and finds a way to get around the Jethro Smith gang and makes it to the police station. Inside, the police chief, deputy police chief, and a dozen other deputies all surround the victimized man. After pushing him into a corner, the chief tells him, "Okay, we'll deal with the Jethro Smith gang, but we have a few conditions." The man says, "I still can't lie to your wife." The chief says, "You don't have to do that anymore. All we want is half of everything you still own, and if you give that to us, we will make sure that Jethro Smith doesn't take over any more rooms in your family's home." The man is confused and asks, "What about the room he's already taken over and the son that he murdered?" The police chief says, "Oh, we're not going to do anything about that, but give us half of everything you value, and we can all call it even." The man, outraged, says, "But Jethro Smith is a thief, a murderer, and a tyrant. Why should I give you half of everything that I and my family have worked for over generations, and you still won't get him out of my house?" The police chief, infuriated by the man's insolence, says, "Because Jethro Smith is the one who got me this job. There's no way I'll ever do anything to offend him." The man asked, "Then why are we even discussing this?" The police chief replies, "Because Jethro Smith called my wife when you wouldn't, so I promise that he can keep that part of your house. I just need you to agree to it." The man leaves, realizing that the police chief never intended to help him at all. The police chief is angry that the man didn't take the corrupt offer, so now he can't promise Jethro Smith that he can keep the room he stole from the victimized man. The victimized man is Volodymyr Zelensky, the corrupt police chief is Donald Trump, and Jethro Smith is Vladimir Putin.